Welcome to today's webinar on automation and contractor marketplace, which are two things which can save your Christmas. My name's Jessica and I'll be taking you through this morning's webinar. So just to let you all know, this webinar is of course being recorded and I will send you all a webinar recording by the end of play tomorrow actually. So we'll get this out to you by the end of the week. And if you have any questions at all, please do get them through to us. We do have a Q&A button available on your Zoom bar. So simply click there and we can get all of your questions answered for you at the end of today's webinar. Before we get started, I just want to go through a quick agenda for all of you. So first of all, we're going to be going through kind of resolving issues over Christmas. This can be a bit of a pain point for property managers. So we want to be kind of discussing what those pain points are and see how Fixflo can help resolve those. I'm going to be explaining to you Fixflo's Copilot tool. We're going to be going through our Contractor Marketplace. You'll be able to book a demo for the Contractor Marketplace as well. So I will be launching a poll a bit later where you can simply just say yes. And from there, somebody will reach out to you. And as I mentioned, I will be answering all of your questions at the end of the webinar. Now, I imagine this webinar will take around an hour. It all depends on questions. Our questions are becoming kind of more and more popular now in webinars, which is brilliant to see. I love to see you guys engage with me. So please do get your questions across. It is a perfect time to answer any Fixflo question. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to launch a very quick poll. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on and we're going to be talking about resolving issues over the Christmas period. Now, obviously, everybody deserves a break during the Christmas period and they want to spend time with their friends and family and enjoy all of the festivities. But maintenance issues do not stop there. So one of the pain points that you might have is emergency issues that come through to you during the Christmas period. It means somebody's always kind of got to be on call and making sure these are attended to. Well, emergency issues can easily be resolved by using kind of the two options that we're going to go through in this webinar. A well-deserved break that can obviously be interrupted by issues that come through, particularly emergencies over this period. Happy tenants, that's another kind of pain point that you want to make sure that you're getting right. You want to make sure that your occupiers aren't unhappy with the service and that they're not sitting there at Christmas with no electricity or a leak or anything like that. So again, if you resolve issues correctly over Christmas, you will have happy tenants. Peace of mind, that's a big thing. Obviously, if you're sitting there around the table with everyone trying to enjoy Christmas lunch, but actually you're very much aware that you're on call that day, that can be quite stressful. So again, with Fixflo, you can get peace of mind there. And also one of the questions here in the poll is all about kind of, sourcing reliable contractors. So that is something you can easily do with our Contractor Marketplace. So I'm so excited to show this to you because these pain points can be resolved by using Fixflo and using both the Contractor Marketplace and Copilot. Brilliant. So first of all here, what is Copilot? Well, Copilot is your automated works assistant, which sits within each and every Fixflo site. It allows you to set up rules to say that if X is reported, you would like to automate Y. So it's kind of, as it says here, automation. It's all to do with the issue comes in and something is automated straight away based on what you've set up. And also it can help to ensure a faster fix rate as well, which is absolutely brilliant. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's about an occupier reporting an issue and you getting that issue resolved for them as quickly and efficiently as possible. And with Copilot, it really can speed up that fix rate. So there are, of course, benefits of using our Copilot tool as well. So first of all, it allows you to automate works directly onto a contractor of your choice, whether that's our Contractor Marketplace or a contractor that you guys work with. Absolutely anyone it can be directed onto, so that's absolutely fine. And it's a brilliant benefit of Copilot. Something new to Copilot as well is that we have now pre-issue creation rules. This is brilliant as you can actually ask your occupiers now, is this an emergency? So that's a really cool thing and I'm going to be showing you that in a moment. You can also send out automatic notifications onto any party. And it is absolutely brilliant for out of hours repairs. It really, really is. So let's show you guys Copilot. Do remember the Q&A? So Copilot, so I'm on a professional system at the moment. This can be used on basic, essentials, professional, and of course Fixflo Manager as well. So it can be used across all 4 packages. Admittedly, there is a lot more on the essential, professional, and manager package. It is kind of simplified on basic, but if you are on this webinar today and you're using Fixflo Basic, you can still use Copilot to a point. So Copilot sits on your left-hand menu sidebar, and it sits here at the bottom. And by clicking here, you are taken through to Copilot here. So if you have absolutely 0 rules in place, this is what it will look like. And you can really easily add a rule by either clicking on Add Rule just at the top here, or alternatively just here. Now, something also that we've been kind of adding to are the templates here. So we've got a number of templates available for you, and these are brilliant, particularly for our Contractor Marketplace. As you can see, we've got one here for Propcool, one for Renovo here. We've also got one for Christmas specifically as well. So these can help you set up rules, especially over that kind of Christmas period. For now, what I'm going to do is just to show you Copilot, I'm going to start with an empty rule, but do bear in mind that we do have these fantastic templates, and a lot of our agents do actually use these templates, as it really does speed up time. But I'm going to start on an empty rule just this morning to show you what it looks like if you were starting from scratch. But do bear in mind that these templates are a brilliant time saver. So if I was to add an empty rule now, it would take me through, and this is where I can add the rule. So remember with the description, it is when you set up X. So you're saying if X happens, you would like to automate Y. And with this, you can be really, really granular. So you can say, for example, that you want only certain faults at specific times at a specific property, for example, to be automated onto a particular contractor if you want to. You can also be really broad. So let's kind of go through this together now. So the first thing you'll need to add here is a rule name. Now with this, I would say it's important to be really clear on your name. Obviously, you guys work with, it's not just yourself in the team, I imagine, there's lots of people. And if you've got a number of rules set up on Copilot, you want to be able to very quickly, from the rule name, understand exactly what it means. So with this example, I'm going to put in locked out instruct to Reggie. Okay, so I know anybody who's locked out instruct to Reggie. I can also put anytime. So this is great for out of hours, but of course you can do this during hours as well. If you're constantly instructing any plumbing jobs to the same plumber, why not automate it? Why not speed up that process and take that off your kind of to-do list? You can do this anytime. So with this example, I'm doing it here. Now we've got 2 different triggers. Previously, we only had the issue creation trigger, but this is new, pre-issue creation, and I'm going to be showing you that shortly. But for now, let's do one at the issue creation stage, and you will, of course, need to have the rule as enabled. Now, once rules are created, you can easily enable and disable them, so it's not kind of stuck there forever. You can delete them as well, but if you ever want to re-enable them, it's always worth just using the disable button, but I'll show you that later. But because I'm turning this one on, I do, of course, want this one enabled here. Now, on the left, we set up the filters. So that's saying X, if X happens. And on the right-hand side here, we will add the action. So that's Y. I want to automate Y. So let's start with the filters. And as I said before, you can be really granular. So you can set up kind of as many filters as you like. With this one, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to kind of go through what each filter means in some detail. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a dummy rule together. So first up here, we have got any. Now, any is, of course, really, really broad. This is you saying anything at all that happens, I want to automate it through. That's fine if that's what you want to do, but that is quite broad. Underneath here, we have covered by network. Now, this is brilliant for those who are using the Contractor Marketplace, which, of course, we're going to cover a little bit later. So if you do want to instruct a rule to the Contractor Marketplace rather than one of your specific contractors, then you will need to have covered by network selected. Here we have period. Now this is brilliant for kind of a one-off period of time. Great for Christmas, bank holidays, Easter, anything like that. You can set it up so that it's only kind of going to work for a particular period of time. Fault, so you can be really fault specific as well. You've got fault priority as well. So when an issue is reported on Fixflo, it is given a fault priority from 0 through to 5, 0 obviously being kind of emergency, then going all the way down to 5. If you wanted to set, for example, all emergency issues to be automated, you could do that. Here we've got time, so this is kind of recurring time if you wanted to have. So you could have, for example, every single weekend, you could have certain hours, so you could do out of hours, for example, evenings and weekends. Location, so you can be location specific. This is where you can put in the postcodes, so you can have it for postcodes. Obviously you wouldn't want a contractor, say in Birmingham, to be going down to Bournemouth, for example, if you covered a really large area. Property, you can be property specific here as well. Property tags, if you've got tags set up on your properties, that's a really brilliant way to group a number of properties together. For example, you could have British Gas Home Care as a tag on multiple properties, and then you could have this property tag set up. You could pop that in, and then all properties under there would be for that Copilot rule. You can be landlord specific. Raised by, so that's who raises the job, hopefully your occupiers, but you never know. Whether or not something is under warranty, if you've got warranties on Fixflo. Is communal, this is more for kind of build to rent customers. And we've also got reported as an emergency. Now that is if you have the pre-issue creation rule set up, where an occupier has said, yes, this is an emergency. You could then have a pre-issue creation rule set up, so occupiers can say if it's an emergency, and if it is, you know, if the occupier said it is, then you could instruct just those jobs off as well. So lots and lots of options here. And as you can imagine, how granular this could get. So for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add fault, first of all, because I want to have, you know, locked out. Now here you can see all of the faults which are on Fixflo available. Okay, so this is kind of the main kind of fault tile, if you like. And what you can do is you could, for example, so with mine, it's to do with locks, isn't it? So I could, for example, tick doors, garages and locks just here. And that would then mean that absolutely anything that is reported under doors, garages and locks would then automate if I left it at this. However, I don't really want that. It's too broad for this particular Copilot rule I'm setting up. So instead of ticking that whole thing, instead what I can do is I can open up locks and keys here. So you'll have to kind of select it on the right hand side rather than within the checkbox itself. And then I could say key lost. Now with this example, whether they have got access to the property or haven't, you know, you can choose what you want. So with this one, I'm going to select them all actually. I'm going to keep them as all, that I would like any of those kind of issues that are reported to go through to the contractor. Brilliant. So there we go. I've got any time on here. Now I just want to show you, if you did want to be specific about weekends, you've got this fantastic time option here, which shows all of the hours in the day and then all the days of the week here. So for example, if you did weekends and evenings, you could easily select Saturday and Sunday, and then you could go ahead and kind of select up until when you start work like that, and then go down to the evening. And if you finish at 5-ish, you could do that as well. So that is something you could easily do. I just wanted to kind of point that out because I think this is a filter that is used really quite often. But I don't actually want the time one on there. For this one, I'm just going to be this really nice and simple and just have this fault type. Now, I also want to instruct this job. So this is where I can now add an action. Obviously, again, guys, if I wanted to be more granular, I could continue to add filters. But for now, I'm going to add an action here. And there are 4 actions at this point. OK, so first of all, we've got do nothing. I'm going to explain that a little bit later. Then we've got notify. Obviously, you can notify users. For example, you might want to notify the landlord to let them know this issue has been raised. Again, brilliant over Christmas, especially if your landlords want to be automatically kept in the loop on things. You could send notifications off to occupiers, anybody that you wanted to. You've also got instruct works and request quotes. When you're doing this, these are for contractors only. So in this example, I'm going to instruct the works because that's what I've put on. Again, another great example here that you may want to use is if every single time issues come in about boilers, you always get quotes from the same two contractors. Brilliant. Why not just get the quotes straight in? You can automate all of that. So again, to take that off your plate, and it does then speed up that fix rate. So that might be a few ideas of what you might want to do there. Your contractor will, of course, need to be on Fixflo first of all. And again, if you're using our Contractor Marketplace, you must have had to set up that filter covered by network. Otherwise, you will not be able to put the Contractor Marketplace in here. You also need the Contractor Marketplace setup done first, but we're going to go through that shortly. So here we go. So for this example, I'm choosing Reggie Pepper, and he's my preferred contractor. You can set an authorization limit and pop in an instruction note here as well. So please can you attend? Thank you. Perfect. And then press OK. Before you press save, I'd always recommend that you kind of double check your rules, that you're 100% happy, because obviously here you are setting up automation. So you want to make sure you're 100% happy. And one other filter I actually just want to go through with you quickly is the period filter. Again, Christmas is coming. This is something that I think is going to be used a lot in the next kind of month. So when you add the period, you must add here a from date. So if you were doing this, for example, for Christmas, you might say, actually, let's do this from the 23rd. So that will include the 23rd up until a certain date. So here, for example, if you wanted to do this up until and including the 2nd of January, you would need to do this to the 3rd. Okay, so just to show you, it tells you what the period is set for example, here 11 days, but the to date does not include that date. So that is up to and including everything on the 2nd of January, but that will not include the 3rd. So if someone was to report an issue at 1 o'clock in the morning on the 3rd of January, it wouldn't be covered if I was to add that filter. I just want to make that crystal clear. It does tell you how long the period is set for here as well, so you can kind of count back to make sure you're happy, but I just wanted to make that crystal clear. Okay, so once you've checked your rules and you're happy, maybe get a colleague to check it, something like that. You can then press save here, and that rule is now set up. If I was to now go back onto Copilot, I can see my rule sitting there. I can see the hit count here as well. So currently no issues have been hit at this. And I can also, for example, edit the rule, copy the rule, view the history, although currently there's none, and delete the rule. Finally, you've got the enable disable button here as well. Okay, so again, if you wanted to use this rule in the future, please don't delete, just disable the rule and then it's no longer turned on. Nothing will automate if that is disabled, but if it's enabled, it will, only if what somebody reports matches exactly to what you've set up. Brilliant. So what we're now going to do is we are going to log out, and I'm going to go in as an occupier now and report that actually I'm locked out. So here I am on the Fixflo system and I'm an occupier now, and I've tried to get home and goodness me, I'm locked out, I've lost my key. So what I can do is, this is now the new occupier side. For anyone that hasn't seen it, I do hope you like it. It is newly refreshed. I think it's looking really brilliant. I'm going to click here on doors, garages and locks and go to locks and keys. Now, please remember, anything I click on other than anything within key lost will not automate, and me as the occupier, I have no idea automation's even set up. All I'm doing is I'm going to Fixflo, as your occupier should be, and reporting an issue. So I'm saying here that this really is an emergency here. Remember, guys, we've got these fantastic pop-ups as well. Please make sure that you have those set up correct for Christmas as well. These can help to filter out around 20% of issues because they're brilliant to help occupiers with first-time fixes and also to filter out issues that shouldn't be coming through. So they're absolutely fab. Brilliant. And here I'm just going to add some fault detail. So I'm saying, you know, I have lost my key, help. Brilliant. Next here, of course, I can add up to 10 photos, videos and audio files. Here I can add some information like this. Again, all of this information is great because this will help you to ensure that you can contact the person, and also, of course, in this case, the contractor will get these details straight away. I can pop in my address. Now, again, if I'd been address specific with this, then this would have an effect, because if you'd said, okay, actually only certain properties I want to automate on Copilot, then of course this would have an effect on whether or not the automation would happen. And here I'm quite happy for the property to be accessed without me being present. I'm agreeing to the T's and C's, and then I'm pressing submit. Brilliant. So I've submitted this off now. Brilliant. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to log back in and show you what has happened to that issue. Now, please do note that when an issue comes through to Fixflo and is reported, the first thing that actually happens to that issue is it will go to Copilot and it will say, has what's been reported, does it exactly match what has been set up on Copilot? If the answer is no, then it will go through as a reported issue, and that will be the status reported, and you will have to resolve that issue because it will be on your first to-do list. If, however, that issue does match exactly what's been set up, then it will automate. So if I go to the issue that I've just reported here, just to show you the detail here, we've got, this was Natalie Hust, and it's just been reported just now, so I'm sure you're happy with that. We can see the issue status is job awarded, awaiting appointment date. You can see we're now waiting for the contractor. On the audit tab as well, it explains that this was actually automated based on the rule that was set up here as well. And we can see that an email has gone out to the contractor. That email looks just like this, saying, "Dear Mr. Pepper, you've been allocated a job." So they get the email straight away. Of course, if they have the contractor app, they'll receive that app notification as well, meaning that that kind of time between the issue being reported and you sending that onto the contractor, that's all been snapped up with the automation. Brilliant. That means, again, you're speeding up your processes. So Copilot is brilliant for, like I say, in and out of hours. So this rule's sitting here, and we can see the hit count has now increased from 0 to 1. And if I click on view history here, we can see that issue that sits just here. You must make sure you're 100% happy with your rules in order to make sure that you know what's happening. Next thing I want to show you is the pre-issue creation rule, which sits here. Now, this is brilliant for asking occupiers, is this an emergency? Again, something you might want to ask over Christmas, so that you can set up a pre-issue creation first to ask, is it an emergency? And then you can instruct only those that have been classed as an emergency by the occupier to either a contractor of your choice or our Contractor Marketplace as well. So that could be something that you want to set up. So with this rule name, I'm going to put here ask occupier emergency, and I'm going to put in the pre-issue creation here. So I'll need to make sure I select that for the correct action to appear. Again, we'll need to enable the rule, and then here we can add a filter. So the only filter I'm worried about right now, of course, you'll probably want to be more granular, but I want to click here on reported as emergency. And oh, sorry, bear with me one second. No, I'm just going to put any for now. Sorry, I got confused there. So I'm just putting the filter any. So that is saying, you know, any issue at all, I want to ask them, is it an emergency? Again, like I say, you probably want to be slightly more granular on your faults if you were setting this up. I just want to show you what it looks like from the occupier side. So I'm going to go nice and broad there. And I'm going to say here, ask reporter if it's an emergency. We've also got here, check if duplicate issue. This is actually only for if agents report issues. Then if, for example, you're reporting an issue that has already been reported, it will come up with like a little kind of message saying, this looks like a duplicate. Would you still like to report the issue? Brilliant if you're an agent that reports lots of issues for occupiers, so that you're not kind of duplicating on work. So again, this is agent only, but this one is for occupiers. Really, really great. So we're going to ask them if it's an emergency and press OK. Again, like I say, your filters will probably be more granular than this, but I'm going to keep it nice and broad and press save. Now, when I go back to Copilot, just to point out that our issues are split between the pre-issue creation here and then the issue creation just after. So with pre-issue creation rules, if you do have this you know, is this an emergency pre-issue creation rule setup? If I log out once again and I go in as an occupier, any issue now that I report will ask me if it's an emergency. So I'm just going to say my boiler is not working. I'm going to add all the details that I need to, like this. And then let's add a quick photo as well. There we go, brilliant. Again, a picture tells 1,000 words, doesn't it? So it's always great to kind of get that kind of clearer response there. Okay, excellent. So perfect. So I'm just going to pop all of this through here. Going to pop in the address as well. Again, with this, if you've been more granular, then this stuff really will matter. But for me, I was really broad. And now when I go to report the issue, okay, this is what will happen. Bear with me 1 second. Here we go. Okay, so I've got all the details here. If I then press confirm, this is what the occupier will see. Okay, so it says, is this an emergency? So if the issue needs to be dealt with within 24 hours, the occupier here can say yes. Just to let you know, you can make amendments to this bit of text as well, if you wanted to, so that is possible. I'll show you where you can do that, but this is brilliant to actually get the occupiers kind of say, first of all, to say whether or not it's an emergency. This pop-up will only pop up, of course, if you have the pre-issue creation rules set up on Copilot, and again, the correct filters have been selected and the occupier chooses that specific fault at the specific time if you've set all of that up. So this can be brilliant. It is relatively new. Do start using it if you want to. If they say that, yes, this is an emergency, it does tell them here that they should only report genuine emergencies. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a second to have a quick look at that. Okay, and now I'm going to submit this. Brilliant. And it does tell them here that they have indicated this is an emergency and they may be called by a contractor as well. And, you know, please make sure you answer the phone. So occupiers, it is very clear to them that this has now been reported as an emergency and someone might be calling because that's what they've asked for. Excellent. Okay. Before I go through the Contractor Marketplace, I just want to show you how you can first of all edit that text on is it an emergency and explain do nothing as well. And then we're going to go on to our fantastic Contractor Marketplace. So how do you change that text? Well, you will need to have administrator rights to do this. So you will want to click here on Setup, and then you'll want to click here on Contractor Marketplace. You'll want to click on Content Edit. And from here, this is where you can kind of make changes to the emails that go out and some of the pop-ups as well within the Fixflo site. So here, it's just this one, message to occupier reporting an emergency. So if you wanted to make kind of changes to this bit of text, of course you can do. This is what you can change. So it was the bit kind of after that bullet point, if you like. You can't change kind of the messaging once the issue's been reported to say, you know, please keep your phone on, etc. But this is what you can report if you want to. So do please bear that in mind, that if you want to change that, of course you can. It's just like a Word document, make the changes and then simply press save. Just to show you very quickly as well on the dashboard that issue that has now just come in as a reported issue, it will show me here on the detail tab that this has actually been now reported as an emergency. Is emergency? Yes. So it's nice and clear there for me on the detail tab. Brilliant. I just want to show you do nothing as well. So if I go back into Copilot, it's really important to understand that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another rule. Now with do nothing, basically what you're saying is you don't want anything to automate at all. Well, why is that helpful? Well, you might have, for example, a certain landlord that says to you, do you know, I love what you're doing. I love everything about Fixflo, but I'm not really too keen on this automation. So I don't really want it for me. No problem at all. What you can do is you can have, for example, You can put the landlord in here and say this is to do nothing. You would want this as an issue creation rule, and of course to enable that rule. And what you could then do is you could choose, for example, with this, that particular landlord, like Michael Moonling here, press OK. And then here on the action, I would choose do nothing. So this means, again, no action will take place. Nothing will automate for this particular landlord, and then press OK. Once I'm happy with all of that, I can press save. And once I've pressed save, I just want to now point out to you that that rule has now added for me as rule number 2, because it was the second rule I've set up. Next thing I want to talk to you about is the order of the Copilot rules, because this really is very, very important. When an issue is reported on Fixflo, as I said to you, the first thing that will happen is it will come through to Copilot. On Copilot, it will then go to your rules, and it will go to them in the order that you have set them. And it will say, has exactly what's been reported, does it match the Copilot rule? If it does, on rule 1, it will automate based on rule 1, and that's it. It will go off. It will never reach rule 2. If, however, rule 1 does not match it exactly, it will then go to rule 2, and it will check, does it match? Yes or no. If yes, it will automate. If no, it will go to rule 3 if it's there, and so on. If, for example, you have a landlord, Mr. Moonling here, that doesn't want Copilot, you must make sure that that rule is on top here to do nothing. And the reason being is because then, if Mr. Moonling has an occupier who reports that actually they're locked out, it will come into Copilot and it will notice that this is actually for Mr. Moonling's property, and it will do nothing, and it will go through as a reported issue rather than instructing to the contractor, which is something he specifically said he didn't want. So that is really, really important to understand how the order of the rules work, and that actually is utmost important. I also want to point out to you as well, before we go on to the Contractor Marketplace, is that if you are on Fixflo Basic, although yes, you will have these filters available to you, many of them unfortunately will not work. You will need to upgrade to at least Fixflo Essentials in order to ensure that actually these will work. For example, properties. You don't hold property data on Fixflo Basic. Therefore, if you were to select that, it would tell you you would need to upgrade. So you can kind of use this to a really kind of basic extent. But if you wanted to use it properly to the extent I'm showing you here, you would need to upgrade. And again, if you just reach out to us, we can set up a demonstration for you and get all of that sorted out very quickly in time for Christmas. Brilliant. I do hope all of that makes sense. Again, some questions have come through in the Q&A, which is brilliant. Do keep them coming. I'm now going to be talking about the benefits of using our Contractor Marketplace, and I cannot wait to show you this. It's so easy to set up, and if you do book a demo today, we will help you with the setup. We'll help you with your Copilot rules as well. You will not be left on your own. So our Contractor Marketplace, what are the benefits here? Well, all of our Contractor Marketplaces do have SLAs in place, okay? So they will be calling the occupier within half an hour of the issue being reported, and they will be on site within 4 hours if it is deemed an emergency. They are all fully insured, compliant and vetted contractors as well. So if you do kind of struggle to source your own reliable contractors, especially over the Christmas time, this might work for you just brilliantly. No use, no fee. If they triage the issue and they say, actually, this isn't an emergency, they won't go on site and there won't be a fee. It is a brilliant alternative if you are struggling to find your own contractor. We've spoken about that a bit already, but yes, if you do struggle to source contractors, especially around kind of bank holidays, Christmas festivities, things like that, then this is a really good option for you. It provides you with peace of mind because you know that the issues will be resolved in a timely manner. And also there is a full audit on the workflow as well. So that is something that you can kind of be happy with. So Contractor Marketplace, who can set it up and how is it done? Well, administrator users can set this up. It's really easy. And again, we will help you with the setup. So do rest assured that if when I launch the poll later, if you do say, yes, you would like somebody to reach out, we will book in that demonstration and we will help you with it as well. But I'm going to kind of go through this with you now. So administrator users, because this sits under setup here, and as I got confused earlier, it's just here, it's Contractor Marketplace. Now you can sign up to as many of these as you wish. Here, for example, we've got Renovo and Propco and Propcool, and also Help Me Fix. For example, if I wanted to sign up with Propcool, you can see currently here that these have not, the network terms and conditions have not been set up. It's nice and clear because these are exited out. So I haven't got any set up at the moment. If I wanted to, we would highly recommend that you click here and you first of all review the terms and conditions. You also view the SLAs as well as the rate card as well. Really important that you kind of are happy with what you're signing up to, but please be aware that absolutely nothing will automate until you have set up Copilot rules for this particular contractor marketplace. And you can also manually instruct these jobs as well for the jobs that they do take. But if you just set these up, if you just agreed to the terms and conditions and did nothing else, nothing would of course happen. Just wanted to make that really clear, but make sure you're happy with all of this before you accept the terms, and you can easily revoke terms at any time as well. Once you've accepted this, you can see the network is now available for use, but you will need to make or to complete the full setup. Again, this is something we will help you with, but just to let you know, that will be adding your director's details. Now, this is simply made up of your business and director's details just here. So this is something that you will need to add, and you will also need to agree to the Mango Pay terms and conditions. Mango Pay is a kind of third-party payment solution, and because all invoicing is done from Contractor Network, so all Contractor Networks are like super users on Fixflo, and as soon as the job has been complete, they will basically raise the invoice within Fixflo. Once the invoice has been raised within Fixflo, as long as you've got everything set up correctly, which of course you'll need to do before you send anything to a contractor network. So once that invoice has been raised within the issue, the payment will be taken straight out. So it's like a direct debit that is set up straight away, which is brilliant, meaning that the whole payment process is managed, within the system. Again, that's taking things off of your plate. So once you've agreed to all of this, you'll need to press save. So you'll need to enter all of these details. And here you can then add your bank account. So when adding your bank account, you will of course need this information here. And then you will simply add a sort code, an account number as well, like this, and then press save. Again, just double check your bank details, make sure you're happy, and then you'll need to create and confirm your mandate. Once you have done that, it will kind of say, are you the account holder? You'll need to confirm this as well. You can use any account for this. Just be aware that as soon as the invoice has come out, has been raised, then the payment will be taken. So do just bear that in mind, and you can go through that in some more detail as well with our team. And then that's it. The direct debit is now submitted, and you can now start making payments with the mandate. So now Mango Pay is all set up. So it's really quick to do. Finally, you've got the settings tab here. If you are VAT registered, you can, pop all of this in if you wanted to, and then press save, and that would save then your VAT. Final thing I want to point out here as well is within the Contractor Network, you can click here on Edit Setup, and you can actually add a management fee as well. So this is like your commission setup, if you like. You can add this as a percentage or as a fixed rate. And you could have, for example, you're taking a 10% management fee, press save. And then again, if I just hit back, you'll be able to see that that management fee is now set up and the agency commission is 10%. So that's another thing you can also do with the Contractor Marketplace too. So setup is actually really, really quite simple. And as I say, a member of the team will go through it with you if you do want to set up a demonstration. Once this is set up, again, nothing will happen at all until you've either set up Copilot, or if it is the correct fault, you will then be able to send that on manually to the specific contractor network if you cannot source your own one. I just want to point out as well that, like I say, they're super users of the system. They're going to keep you in the loop. If you're using Fixflo Basic and you're using contractor networks, that's absolutely fine as well. And you will need to, you can speak to a member of the team about how the comments tab works, because you'll be able to be kept in the loop via a comments tab. If you were now to have that contractor network set up and you were to click to add rule, as I said before, a lot of people are using our fantastic templates, which are relatively new. So you've got here assign issues reported during out of hours to prop call, and you've also got the Christmas ones as well. Brilliant, like I say, for the festivities that are soon approaching. So let's add the Christmas one here. If I was to click add, the rule name is added for me. It's put at the issue creation trigger. I'll of course need to enable the rule. Again, nothing will happen if the rule is disabled. The period is already set up for you here. So here we've got, this is from the 23rd to the 2nd. So that means it's absolutely everything up to and including the 1st of January. That will not include the 2nd. So this is a 10-day period. You can, of course, amend this. So if you wanted to, I don't know, you are working, say, on the 23rd, you can, of course, change that to the 24th if you want to and just press OK. That's fine too. Covered by network is prop call. And just to let you know, this will now cover all of the faults which prop call cover. And these are considered emergency issues, which basically means it's at risk of for the property or the occupier, or it's something that could get that bad that actually it would risk the occupier's safety and their vulnerability, and also the building itself. You can click here to add another filter where you can actually see what these faults are. And you could, if you wanted to, narrow these down. So you can actually see, for example, if I click on hot water, this is actually no hot water that this is covering. So it's really, really clear to you here. And I believe we do also have details on what's covered as well available on our help site. So you can view all of that. But this is just something you might want to go through to make sure you're happy with this. So those filters, that's automatically set up for you. You can see this is going to instruct a prop call. It's got a little message in here for you. It's got a £300 authorization limit as well. So there we go. You can, of course, amend this if you want to. Any amendments, just remember to press OK. And once you are happy, again, you can then press save. Now, if this is for a specific period, what you might want to do and what we would recommend is that you go into Copilot itself here and you actually drag that to the top. Again, remember how important the order of the rules really is. Excellent, guys. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to launch a poll. And I am now going to go through the questions. Question 1 is from Tanya. Tanya, thank you so much for joining me this morning. If we give tenants the opportunity to state that a repair is an emergency, are we not opening them up to be able to tick yes, no matter the repair, to get a faster response? So if you're asking them if it's an emergency, you can narrow that down. So do remember that when you are setting up a pre-issue creation rule, you could literally be like, okay, for certain faults that you might consider an emergency. So for example, you might want to say, actually, if it's something to do with the gas boiler or the heater, you could literally really narrow this down. You could also narrow it down for hours, remember? So you could literally be like, I only care if it's when I'm not there, if it's an emergency. So you could do weekends and evenings. So they can tick yes. And then once you've set this up, so like I say, remember, you can be super duper granular here before you're actually asking them if it's an emergency. And then what you could do is you would go back into Copilot and you would add a second rule to say, if it's been reported as an emergency, yes, then you would like to action that to instruct the works straight to someone, or you could even notify. So you could set up a specific notification. There is actually, guys, one thing I did forget to mention with the Contractor Marketplace. If you've got that set up, something absolutely brilliant, I'm so sorry, there's so much to remember sometimes, is there will be a specific text message that will actually go out to occupiers now as well. So one of the problems we had before with Contractor Marketplaces was if the occupier would then receive an email saying, thank you for reporting your repair. But within that half an hour that the SLA is, that the Contractor Marketplace will call them, a lot of calls were actually missed. We've now put in place a text message. We, as Fixflo here, are going to cover the cost of that text message. And that text message will go straight out to occupiers saying, please keep your phone on loud. Basically, someone will be in touch within the next half an hour, and it's completely resolved that issue. We have got no more problems with occupiers actually missing phone calls. I completely forgot to mention, before anyone else jumps off, I just wanted to mention that. So that is absolutely brilliant, and it's a great way for occupiers to be kept in the loop. And obviously, guys, I've got my phone on me here. I bet you do too. Who misses a text nowadays? Really, really brilliant way of communicating. And as I say, Fixflo do cover that cost. So, so basically, yes. So what you can do, Tanya, is you can get really, really granular as to who you're asking about an emergency. So again, it could be fault specific, property specific, time specific. And then what you can do is you can come and set up an action to either instruct those jobs. And again, when you're instructing the job, you could say like, this is an emergency and it's to do with specific faults. So you could say any plumbing issues which have been indicated as an emergency from an occupier, you would like to instruct to a contractor. And then you could have any lighting issues that have been said as an emergency by the occupier to be instructed to another contractor. You can really set that up so you can have as many rules on Copilot as you want in order to be super specific and make sure that the right person is instructed if the occupier says it's an emergency. You can also, as I say, change the wording around an emergency as well. So if you click on setup and content edit to say, please only say this is an emergency if it really is. If not, we may charge a missed call out fee or something like that. So you can kind of make Fixflo it's as customizable as it possibly can be so that you're making sure that you're only asking the right questions to the right people. I hope that does make sense. If you want to, if that doesn't quite make sense, do feel free to keep going in the Q&A and I'll help you. More questions are coming in. I'm so glad to see it. Going to carry on cracking on. Another question from Tanya. Can I set to automatically assign a particular agent? We have numerous people in the team, but one person tracks Fixflo so that all issues reported automatically to be assigned to one agent no matter what. You can set up assignments. That's not to do with Copilot. We do have it so that you can, for example, set a specific agent to be assigned to certain jobs, yes, and then they will receive the notification email when it goes to them. You cannot instruct issues to an agent. You can only instruct to a landlord or a contractor, and with Copilot you can only instruct to contractors. If you wanted to set up assignments so that the issue comes in and it's reported, but it's for a particular agent, yes, you can do that. We do have Fixflo Academy. So Fixflo Academy is the best way and the quickest way to become a Fixflo expert. There's a number of courses on there, and there's actually about, I think it's about a half an hour to a 40-minute course, particularly on assignments. I would highly recommend, Tanya, that you go on that course. It will save your progress so you can kind of jump in and out at your own leisure, and it's kind of all on demand. There's no kind of live webinar you're waiting for on that one either. So I'd highly recommend that you go to the agent and team assignments. What I'll do, Tanya, is I'll drop you an email by the end of play today how you can sign up for that, and it's completely free of charge. It is available for lettings customers only, really, but if you are a block or build to rent customer, you might just notice some differences between the systems. Alice, thank you for joining me this morning. It's great to have you here. Can you notify and instruct works in the same rule, or would you need to have two separate rules? Really great question there. Yes, you can have multiple actions on one rule. So when you go to add a rule, I'm sorry if I didn't point that out earlier, when you click here to add an action, you could, for example, instruct this works to say, let's go with Reggie again. Brilliant. And then you can also add an action to notify. You can actually notify as many people as you want. So say, for example, here, I wanted to notify the occupier to say something here. I could then add another action here to say, again, notify. And I could say I want to notify the landlord as well. And you could keep going. This is a really good question. This is something that I completely missed. I do apologize. So here you could say, actually, you want to notify a completely different email address altogether. Remember to add a proper message. You could literally keep going. So you can notify as many people as you want. And as you can see, I can continue to add those actions. That's actually something relatively new we've set up as well. So when it comes to instructing works or requesting quotes, you can only choose one of those options, because obviously you can only instruct to one contractor, and you can't instruct and request quotes at the same time, but you can continue to notify. Thank you so much for that question. I hope that made sense. If a contractor declines a job, can you set up a second contractor as a default? Zoe, that's a brilliant question. Thank you for joining me this morning as well. Unfortunately, no, that's not something that can happen. If they decline the job, there is no kind of second contractor. With Copilot, Copilot will automate either at the pre-issue creation, as I showed you, or just as the issue is created, so at the state just before it goes to a reported issue. What I would do is, if you are going to have contractors set up over the Christmas period, particularly make sure they're happy for that, so that you don't have kind of a decline in jobs, so that any kind of out of hours emergencies particularly are resolved. And again, that's where our Contractor Marketplace really will come in handy, because again, we've got those SLAs set up, they're fully insured, fully vetted, and trustworthy contractors. So that might be something that you have if you do struggle to source contractors yourself. But again, make sure that you kind of had that conversation with them first, and that actually they are happy to take jobs over Christmas. Again, you can be fault specific, remember, when you're setting those jobs up. So you might want to go through the contractor what they're going to do, and they will receive all of the occupiers' contact details as well. Dominic, hello, nice to have you here. Hi, Jess. How are the Contractor Marketplaces contractors paid? Invoice to agent or automatic payment from an agent like AXA used to do it? Yes, it's all automatic. It's all through Mango Pay. So as I showed you, you will set up that direct debit mandate, and the contractor network, again, they are super users. They will do all of the invoicing within Fixflo. As soon as that invoice is attached to the issue, then that Mango Pay direct debit will kind of kick in, if you like, and that is all paid for you automatically. So there is no kind of additional payment section that you'll need to do, and I hope that was explained kind of within the webinar. So it's all done within Mango Pay. Again, it's a third party kind of payment software, if you like, and you'll set up that direct debit. Just make sure that you're happy with that bank account and that that bank account has funds in, so it doesn't bounce. You will be able to see under network invoices all of the invoices for networks as well, so you can track the payment here. Currently I've got no invoices found here, but they will sit here, and you can of course search for them as well. The invoice will of course as well sit within the actual issue itself. An anonymous attendee, hello, thank you for joining. Up to 14-day payment terms are available. Okay, yes, so there is an opportunity to have kind of stronger payment terms as well. You can talk all of the payment terms through with a member of the team, so please do be aware of that. So payments can either be taken kind of immediately, I think it's like the next working day, or alternatively you can set up other payment terms as well. So do chat with us about that, especially if you've answered yes in the poll. Remember, we will be reaching out to you. Hello, Swift Lettings, thank you for coming. Can I see a list of available contractors, the trades they cover, the areas they cover, and their costs? So we are, when you say the contractors, we've got the kind of contractor networks that we have. So that's all kind of covered here. So if again, I click on Setup and Contractor Marketplace just here, we've got them here. So we've got Help Me Fix, PropCall, and Renovo as well. This is obviously just a Fixflo one. With regards to trades they cover, all of that will be shown. So if I was to click here on View Accepted Terms, I can find the rate card here. I can also click here for more information, and that will then take me out to our help site, which is also available within Fixflo itself. I'm going to show you that in a moment, but this will explain kind of who PropCall are and what they do. So this is kind of information that you can find kind of the flyer, and it can show a little bit more about what they do. It's all about emergency repairs, but this is all, I believe, on here. We've also got FAQs here. We do have it available. Bear with me one second. What faults are covered. So you will be able to find all of that available, and I will be kind of and you can go through all of that with a member of our team. Just to let you know as well, if I go back into the Fixflo site here, you can access our help site as well from clicking here on Need Help. This is the very best way to get an answer to any questions that you have. You can search for help here, so you can start typing here, and you can also contact us. Please make sure you go through our articles and videos first before you go through to our support team, but they are brilliant and they will help you if, of course, you cannot get your question answered through an article or a video. Swift Lettings, I hope that does help you. It is all available within Fixflo, whether it's on the help site or within the actual contract network itself, and it's all to do with emergency repairs, really. Zoe, if a tenant reports an issue as an emergency, does the contractor confirm this before attending? Lots of my tenants think a light bulb change is an emergency. Well, again, be granular then. Do not just, I know my example wasn't the best. It's just because there's obviously a lot to go through in this webinar, but when you are adding a rule to say, actually, you want it to be a pre-issue creation rule because you want to ask if it's an emergency, get granular with what you're asking. Make sure that you're going through the faults and you're only asking faults that you as yourself may consider an emergency. Contractor networks will, of course, triage this first as well. So they'll actually call the occupier within that half an hour. And if it is deemed an emergency by them, then they will be out within that 4-hour thing. Again, no use, no fee. So they might triage things that, again, an occupier is considered an emergency or that have been raised that may seem it, but actually it's not. So make sure you're granular with your rules there. Lauren, thank you for joining me. Are you able to add 2 period times? For example, if the office is closed on the 24th of December until the 28th, and again from the 31st of December until the 3rd of January, do you need to set up 2 rules? Yes, so you'll need to have 1 rule per period. Oh, hang on, bear with me 1 second. I believe you do need to have 1 rule per period there, because the reason being is if you have a rule set up on Copilot, remember that the rule, the issue that's reported will need to match exactly. And if you've got 2 periods, it might get confused that it can't match every single filter then. So what I would do is, if you do have that, have the 2 rules. What you can do, remember, is if you're setting that up, go to Copilot and you've got this fantastic copy option here. So you can literally copy the rule. So everything is copied across. This will save you lots and lots of time. And you could have this as like period 2. You could then go to the period here and say that actually you want this one to be that kind of New Year one here, and press save. Then go back to Copilot here and then drag that one up there, and this would be period 1. So yes, you would probably need to do that, I believe, because again, it's all about exactly matching. And if it can't match all of the filters, you might have some problems then. So that is something you could do. Yes, again, use that copy function to do that. And I would advise doing them as 2 separate rules. Can I add my own contractor on Fixflo? Yes, of course you can. To add contractors, you will need to go to People and Contractors here. Simply add the contractor by clicking here on Add Contractor. They will then receive a welcome email. Do kind of encourage them to download the Contractor app as well. It's completely free of charge. And again, it will give them push notifications for when it will send them push notifications when jobs come through to them as well. Most of our contractors who do use Fixflo actually do use the app, and there's loads and loads of kind of usability on there. So please make sure that you are doing that. Once they're added as a contractor, you can then use them for Copilot. Again, if you're going to use them specifically for out of hours kind of emergencies, it might be worth having that chat with them first. But Copilot, like I say, can be used in hours as well to speed things up, increase that fixed rate as well. So you can do that too. I'm going to try and whiz through these now. I'm aware it's just gone 12. Thank you guys for sticking with. We're getting there now. Rachel, why are there 2 differing rule issue creations, i.e. a pre-issue or an issue creation? So on Copilot here, we've got the pre-issue creation. So that is before the issue is actually created. That is when you can ask the occupier, is it an emergency? Because at that point, the issue hasn't actually been confirmed. Nothing's come through on Fixflo. And then you've got the issue creation, and that is as soon as the issue is created, then it will go to Copilot and it will go through the rules And if it doesn't match anything, it will go as a reported issue. And if it does, it will go off and automate. So pre-issue, there is no issue yet created on Fixflo. Issue creation, there is an existing issue that has just been submitted. I hope that makes sense. Should they not all be under one? We don't really understand the benefit of the pre-issue creation. We thought the rule creation would be able to rule it out if it is an emergency. So with the pre-issue creation rule, that is you basically asking the occupier, do you deem this an emergency? Again, you can get really granular and ask them only certain faults if you wanted to. For example, boiler issues, no hot water, power off. Do you think this is an emergency? And then, yes, of course, you can rule out emergencies with the contractor network if you were just to have issue creation rules, because they will always call the occupier within that half an hour SLA and deem whether it's an emergency or not. This is just a new kind of feature that we've added, allowing you to put the onus more on the occupier and ask them if it's an emergency. But again, you can get granular as to which issues you're asking them for that. If you're still not sure, please get in touch. Just reach out, need help on here, and contact us. It's also worth, guys, probably having a bit of a play around with Copilot to make sure you're 100% happy with it and putting kind of dummy issues through. Anthony, hello. The direct debit set up on the Contractor Marketplace could permit a payment on behalf of a client where no money is held for that client. This is a breach of client accounting rules, surely. Anthony, I'll have to get back to you on that one. It's yeah, someone will have to get back to you on that one. I'm not 100% sure on that. With Mango Pay, it does work very well where the money is taken straight out, and you'll have to make sure you're happy with the account that you're using. But I'll ask if someone can get in touch with you. Rachel, lastly, can you set the management fee up on individual properties for invoice lifts? Some clients have an uplift and some don't on our books. With the management fee that you're using for the contractor network, it's either set up or it is not. Unfortunately, you cannot do that on a per property basis. So if I click here on set up and Contractor Marketplace, it's set up for all that goes out to prop call or not. You can't change this one particularly on a property basis. If instructing to our own given contractor, will they need the app or will they be able to receive an email? Yes, they do not need the app. They can, the app's brilliant though. I would recommend that they get the app, but they don't need it. No, they will receive an email. If they've got the app, they'll receive both an email and the push notification. If they don't have the app, they will just receive the email. And of course they can log in on the desktop version. It's cloud-based as well, so they can access this on any device. They do not need the app, but it's good to have it. Can we have AXA set up? Are we still able to use that company? Claire, unfortunately not. We no longer use AXA. Unfortunately not. There were a few emails that went out about this earlier on in the summer. This is no longer available for any of our customers, unfortunately. Yeah, so please do note that with our Contractor Marketplace, they will triage the issue and find out if it is a genuine emergency. 4 out of 5 jobs are actually considered not emergencies, and then the contractor would not deploy this from the marketplace. So that is something to bear in mind, but it is also brilliant for your occupiers as well to get that call and realize as well this isn't an emergency. So that is something to bear in mind when you're looking at kind of the rate card and everything like that. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. That is all the questions. It's been great to have so many of you asking questions through these webinars. I do wish you a wonderful rest of the week. The weekend is fast approaching. And like I say, I'll be in touch with this recording and some more information by the end of play this week. Someone will also reach out to you if you answered yes on the poll. Please do fill out the survey as well. And thank you for joining. Bye-bye.